Hello, I am Alon Burstein, visiting assistant professor in the Department of Political Science and Israel Institute Fellow at the University of California, Irvine, here bringing you the summary of the last 24 hours of the Israel-Hamas war. It is currently the eve of November 23rd, 2023 in the United States, the morning of November 24th, 2023 in the Middle East. It is 10 past 7 in the morning in the Middle East. We are 10 minutes into the first truce in the war. According to the deal that was struck between Israel and Hamas, Hamas transferred the names of 13 Israeli hostages to Israel that are going to be released on Friday, and the first truce, the pause in the fighting, took effect 10 minutes ago at 7 a.m. According to the deal, the Israeli hostages are going to be released at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. They are going to be taken by ambulance to the Rafah crossing. They are going to be then transferred over to the Red Cross and Israeli delegates on the Egyptian side. From there, they will be taken to Israel. The exact mechanism of how they are transferred has been agreed to be kept secret. The Red Cross is involved, but this was part of the disagreements that led to the delay of 24 hours in the deal. At 6 p.m., 2 hours after that, Israel is going to release 39 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. As part of the deal, Israel will not operate any aerial activity in the southern parts of the Gaza Strip for the next 4 days, and Israel will not operate any aerial activity in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip every day of the pause between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. In addition, according to the deal, 200 trucks of aid carrying food, water, and medical supplies are going to enter the Gaza Strip every day. In addition, 4 trucks of fuel carrying upwards of 130,000 liters of diesel fuel are going to enter each day, in addition to 4 additional trucks of natural gas and cooking gas that are going to enter each day. A point of contention in the deal regards the Red Cross visiting the hostages that are left behind. According to Israel, this was part of the initial deal. Hamas is refusing to allow the Red Cross to visit any of the hostages that are left behind and says it is only willing to give guarantees about their condition to the Red Cross. Israel, in turn, is insisting this was part of the deal and calling upon Qatar and Egypt, because they are guarantors on the part of Hamas, to ensure that Hamas lives up to its word. The Qatari foreign minister was asked about this earlier today. He said that he had no information on the subject. In addition, a report in Al Arabi Al Jadid stated that Iran has successfully mediated between Thailand and Hamas to secure the release of 23 Thai citizens that have been kidnapped and held by Hamas. According to the report, they are going to be released during these 4 days of pause unconditionally, and that the release is being facilitated now because there is a pause in the fighting. Relating to the deal, a spokesperson of the Qatari Foreign Ministry today stated in Doha that they hope that the current truce will lead to a permanent ceasefire. Moving on to reports of the ongoing fighting in the last 24 hours, there were substantial rockets sent from the Gaza Strip towards the southern parts of Israel in a specific barrage immediately before the truce took hold. So rockets were sent towards the entire surrounding Gaza, primarily targeting Kisufim, Nahal Oz, and Nir Am areas. In addition, there was substantial IDF activity reported throughout the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. In Jabalia, the IDF heavily intensified its activity. AFP reported that an UNRWA school was bombed. That school reportedly was housing internally displaced people, and 37 people were killed, 93 more people were injured. The Palestinian networks also reported that 2 cars were attacked in the Nusirat area in central Gaza Strip. In addition, the IDF reported that it uncovered large weapons and missiles caches throughout the El Shati camp in northern parts of the Gaza Strip and Jabalia, and that specifically these were held in mosques in the different areas. The IDF published a lot of pictures to this effect. In addition, there are also reports that the generators in the Indonesian hospital were damaged in a bombing in the area, and that 200 patients remain in the hospital. The IDF spokesperson today was asked about the IDF activity in Al Shifa hospital and if it is going to continue. He stated that the IDF intends to destroy all the terror infrastructure that it found in and beneath Al Shifa hospital, and after that the IDF will evacuate and leave the hospital. Related to this, the hospital administrator, Dr. Muhammad Abu Salmiya, was arrested today as he was attempting to evacuate down south. He was taken to Shabak for questioning regarding how Hamas has managed to use the hospital as its headquarters, how it managed to connect to the hospital's electricity grid in order to power its generators of the tunnels underneath it, it stored weapons in the hospital, etc., etc. In response, the Gazan Health Ministry told the World Health Organization that it is freezing all evacuations from the Al Shifa hospital since the arrest is unacceptable because it happened after the evacuation was coordinated. Other sources stated that the evacuation was not coordinated and Abu Salmiya was trying to escape. Either way, right now, there are still some staff and patients in the hospital, and the evacuation appears to be frozen. Moving further south in the Gaza Strip, there was a report of an attack carried out in the Deir al-Balach area where a journalist was reported killed. In addition, the IDF is reporting that Omar Abu Jalala who is a Hamas Navy commander of Khan Yunis Brigade, was assassinated today, along with another prominent figure in the Khan Yunis Navy Brigade who was also assassinated. In addition, there were other targets attacked in Khan Yunis area, specifically lookout posts and tunnels that were close to the beach areas. There was also a report of a bombing that occurred in the town of Rafah, which is the most southern town in the Gaza Strip, as well as further bombing in the areas between Rafah and Khan Yunis. The IDF reported that it carried out a total of 300 air raids throughout the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. According to the Palestinian Information Ministry that is now reporting the amounts of casualties, upwards of 14,854 Palestinians have been killed since the war began. Of these, upwards of 6,150 are minors and 36,000 are still reported injured. There are also reports that over 46,000 residents in the Gaza Strip have been completely destroyed, and over 234,000 residents in the Gaza Strip have been severely damaged. Moving on to the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, the IDF has continued to call upon Palestinian civilians that are still in the north to move down south. It has been reported that some 95% of the Palestinian civilians in the north have evacuated to the southern parts of the Gaza Strip. The IDF is now calling the remaining Palestinians to do so. Related to this, there's growing concern in the IDF that Palestinians that have evacuated down south are going to use these days of pause to try to return north to their homes during these 4 days. There's specific concern that after the Friday prayers at 1 o'clock, there will be mass movement of Palestinians trying to go north. The IDF has set up blocks and giving soldiers specific instructions and riot gear in order to try to prevent this. IDF spokesperson in Arabic also put out messages saying that traffic is only permitted from north to south and that aid trucks are also not permitted to go north unless this is coordinated. However, there is growing concern in the IDF that this may be a point of contention. The IDF has stated that it plans to hold its positions during the ceasefire and to move only in agreed upon areas. Relating to aid trucks, a total of 80 trucks carrying food, water, and medical supplies entered into the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. Moving on to the West Bank, the El Ayash brigades in Jenin, which is somewhat affiliated with Hamas but not a brigade of Hamas, reported today that it launched an RPG into the Israeli settlement of Shaked. They later published footage showing the launching of this RPG. However, there was no report in the settlement or by the IDF or in any Israeli news sources that this RPG actually landed in the settlement. In addition, the spokesperson of Hamas's military wing, Al-Qassam brigades, called upon Palestinians today in the West Bank and in Jordan to escalate their confrontations with the IDF, specifically during the days of pause. He said while there is a pause in the Gaza Strip, he calls on Palestinians to escalate in these other areas. Regarding IDF activity, there was intensive activity reported in the last 24 hours in the Balata refugee camp near Nablus and in the Azun area near Kalkilia. There was reported over 60 sites that were raided in Azun and substantial weaponry confiscated in both areas. Relating to settler terrorism against Palestinians, which has been a continuous focal point of contention between the United States and Israel, today there was an internal document released by the IDF Central Command, so this is the command that is in charge of the West Bank, relating to the Israeli police, which is in charge of the West Bank when it comes to settlers, stating that the Israeli police are not enforcing nationalistic Jewish crimes in the West Bank due to orders that were given by the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. Itamar Ben-Gvir is the most hawkish figure in Israel's government. He has said there is no such thing as settler violence, no such thing as settler terrorism. According to this report, the military is complaining that the police is not enforcing the law against Jewish extremists in the West Bank. They gave examples of incidents where a Jewish person shot a Palestinian and badly injured him and he was released after 20 minutes, and other examples showing that the police are not actually enforcing the law. The police rejected these allegations. Regarding casualties in the last 24 hours, 2 Palestinians are reported to have died. A 46-year-old was killed in the Burqa village near Ramallah. In addition, there are reports of a 12-year-old Palestinian that was killed in the Beita village near Nablus. The IDF stated that there were confrontations with Palestinians throwing stones and Molotov cocktails in the area. However, they are investigating this matter. A total of 22 Palestinians were arrested in the West Bank in the last 24 hours. Moving on to the north of Israel, southern Lebanon, there was substantial escalation in the last 24 hours. This may relate to the IDF assassinations that it carried out yesterday, and also possibly may relate to an escalation prior to a ceasefire that Hezbollah said they're going to also participate in the next days. Either way, Hezbollah took responsibility for over 22 different border incidents in the last 24 hours. These include substantial fire against IDF outposts and Israeli towns. A total of 48 missiles and rockets were fired at the Ein Zaitim base near Tzfat. In addition, there was RPG fired at the Biranit area and Kibbutz Menra. 2 houses are reported to have been damaged. There were also rockets fired towards Kiryat Shmona and the Upper Galilee, towards Margaliot in the Western Galilee, and Misgav Am. An anti-air missile was reported being targeted against an IDF target in the skies of Lebanon, which was intercepted. The IDF retaliated against a variety of Hezbollah targets, including, as it often targets, different warehouses, different lookout posts, different outposts. According to the IDF, they retaliated using warplanes, helicopters, tanks, and direct mortar fire as well. In addition, there's a current blame game going on between Lebanese sources and Israel regarding several fragments that landed in the El Ramish, El Yarun, and Ein Arbel area in Lebanon. According to Lebanese sources, these are fragments from Israel's Iron Dome that landed in the area and damaged several houses, whereas the IDF is stating that these are failed rocket launchers by Hezbollah. Hezbollah is also reporting that 2 more of its activists were killed in the last 24 hours. In addition, it was also reported that Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, met with Iranian foreign minister in Beirut in the last 24 hours in order to discuss the escalations and likely in order to discuss if Hezbollah is going to participate in this ceasefire, even though they were not part of the deal originally, or not. Moving on to some of the political and general trends that have occurred in the last 24 hours, the UK Foreign Minister David Cameron is visiting Israel. He met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, with Minister Gantz, who's part of the War Cabinet, and with a variety of other political figures. In addition, Khaled Mashal, who is the former leader of Hamas and currently a prominent figure, spoke in a video speech today to a crowd in Morocco, in which he asked citizens to pressure the government to annul any peace treaties with Israel, and explained that Morocco's foreign policy is a mistake that can still be fixed. According to the El Arab newspaper, the Moroccan government was infuriated at Mashal's statements and specifically stated that he is actually asking for an insurrection in Morocco. A Moroccan prominent politician, Nofel Ba'amari, also stated to the newspaper that the calls by Hamas show how weak Hamas is right now and how desperate they are to just get any attention in the Arab world. Moving on to the future speculations regarding what is going to happen in the Gaza Strip, Defense Minister of Israel Yoav Gallant today stated in regards to the pause in the fighting, I'm quoting, "It will be a short pause after which the fighting will continue in full force, creating pressure that will bring back the hostages. I estimate that in the next month or 2 months, there will be intensive fighting, after which there will be a lot of operations in which commando units will have what to do, until there is no military threat from the Gaza Strip, and we have freedom to do what we want in any given moment." Somewhat echoing this, IDF spokesperson today, Daniel Hagri, also stated, I'm quoting, "Taking over the Gaza Strip is the first phase of a long war. In the coming days, we will complete the planning of the next phases. The goals are dismantling Hamas, returning the hostages, rearranging the borders, and creating regional deterrence." What we get from this is that both figures in Israel's defense establishment are stating that what is happening right now is still one of the first phases, and that we're looking at least another month or 2 in what Israel is planning. In addition, according to Al Arabi Al Jadid, an Egyptian source stated to the newspaper that a new plan is brewing in Israel for the future of the Gaza Strip. According to this plan, a Palestinian National Council made up of local leaders, muhtars, which are village leaders and elders who are not affiliated with Hamas, and business leaders will take up governance in the Gaza Strip. They will be backed by the United Nations and international bodies. The plan includes a revamping of Rafah crossing, giving Israel far more technological control of the crossing, and the source has explicitly stated that Egypt has already refused this idea. In addition, a member of the Knesset, Israel's parliament, Ariel Kellner of the Likud, today spoke in a Returning to Gaza conference. This is a conference that's set up specifically by those advocating that Israel reoccupy the Gaza Strip and set up settlements there. He stated, I'm quoting, "The concept that settlements are a security burden rather than an asset must be uprooted. We must return to the good old-fashioned Zionism that saw settlements as an asset, not as a burden." I'll note that M.K. Kellner is not part of Israel's cabinet. He is not a leading minister. However, he is a member of the ruling party. Finally today, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz reported from sources in Ramallah in the West Bank that different Palestinian organizations, including Fatah, have appealed to Hamas members, asking them to lay down their arms and leave the Gaza Strip, and to be absorbed in the PLO bodies. While the idea was categorically rejected by Hamas, it does indicate to us that the PLO, and more expandedly the Palestinian Authority, is starting to actually think strategically about its future presence in the Gaza Strip, and possibly trying to tell different prominent Hamas activists, if you lay down your arms, you will be able to be absorbed into the PLO and possibly return to Gaza in a different capacity in the future. That is my report for the last 24 hours. I will note that the ceasefire that has gone into effect is a limited 4-day truce. It is also very volatile, so it is unclear what is going to happen in the next 24 hours if it is going to be upheld. Hostages are due to be released at 4 o'clock in the afternoon Middle East time. I will be back tomorrow to report on how it's going.